Welcome to the Billy Shultz Music Podcast.
All right, man. It's good to see you, bro. How you been?
Good, man. Likewise. Just got home from tour a couple days ago.
I saw you guys. What your last date was on the 20th? Is that what it was?
Yeah, down and over in Alabama. Played this place that we all walked out and we're like, oh, it's Rust from Modern Warfare.
Oh, is that what it looked like?
Yeah, it's the place they do Furnace Fest at. It was cool though.
Yeah.
It was a super solid way to end the tour. Shows were
awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah, man. I definitely want to talk to you some more about that. But I don't know if I ever got around to telling you, but when we did this the last time, I never got around to posting it, and I honestly couldn't even tell you why. I think we were coming out of like lockdown and stuff, and I was going back to work. So my apologies for that. But this one will definitely get posted. I've just restarted it, and I'm doing a bunch of these. So I appreciate you coming back on and chatting with me. I do want to just jump into, just tell everybody about yourself, start from square one, who you are, what you do. Because I know we went over that on the first one, but like I said, I'd like to just jump back into it.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for having me on
always,
here.
Bro, always.
It's a pleasure. So Dakota Sammons is my name. I play drums, drum tech, tour, all of it. Right now, I am currently teching for Dance Gavin Dance. I also play drums for Icy Stars. I've been playing drums for a long time now.
It's all a blur, huh?
Yeah, I think it's coming up on like 17 years, 18 years.
Wow. Did you ever have any schooling, or did you go to lessons? I mean, when did you get started? Like, what was your kind of motivation, and did you have any, like, are you self-taught, or explain like that background part of it?
Yeah. So I started taking an interest in drums, I think when I was in like third grade, and my parents and my grandma got me one of those like dinky ass first stack Walmart kits. That's not even like, it's like a kid toy thing.
It's like, a bunch of cardboard boxes.
Yeah. And so like I kind of played around on that. Didn't really know what I was doing yet at that point. But then School of Rock came out, and it was like so relatable because it was like the kids in the movie were my age.
Right.
And then seeing, I forget his name right now, but
Freddie.
Yes. Freddie. Watching him play, and like the whole movie, just like I was like so pumped. I remember coming home from the movie theater and I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like,
that's awesome.
So then I started just like, I was watching DVDs. My mom bought me like an AC/DC live DVD. I watched a ton of Linkin Park, Blink-182, Green Day, all that, and then I would just literally play on the end of my bed. I would take the sticks that I had and visualize the kit and have the radio behind me and put in CDs and just jam. And
this
finally,
this was before you even had a drum set at all.
Yeah. And it got to the point where my parents were like, all right, do you want a drum set? I'm like, yes, I want a drum set.
I'm sitting here drumming on the end of my bed. What do you think?
Can you tell? So like, all right, we'll take you to Guitar Center. And if you can show us that you can play on a kit there, we'll get you a drum kit. So got in the car, went to Guitar Center. I played Dr. Feelgood, just a little riff from that. And they were like, all right.
They're like, damn it, you got us.
Yeah. Like, great. I tortured them for so long. But yeah, and then got my first kit. It was a Pearl EX Export. We'll never forget it. yeah. And from there, it was just, I did band, like band and orchestra, marching band throughout middle school, high school. So those were the only lessons that I took. So it was more specific to rudimentary drumming and mostly marching band.
Right. Cadences, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Other than that, drums have been mostly self-taught. I mean, by now there's a there was a long period of time where I was doing like YouTube covers in high school, and to learn some of the songs, I would just find live videos of that drummer playing it and just watch him, watch all of his movements, and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because listening and seeing it, it's a bit different.
Sure.
So, and I'm a visual learner, so that definitely helped. But other than that, yeah, it's mostly self-taught, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine that seeing, watching it's kind of like guitar playing too. It's, you can hear it, but it's when being able to see it and visualize what's actually happening, I can see it makes it much easier to connect what you're hearing to exactly how you're supposed to be playing it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like guitar, like I kind of can get around a guitar, but by no means a guitarist. So yeah, seeing chord, shapes and all that definitely would help.
Yeah, it gets difficult because there are just so many ways and so many voicings for different chords and ways to play things on a guitar that it's almost like I need to see what you're doing to really especially if it's something technical or complicated. But yeah, I can easily see that translating the same way to drums and playing drums as well. So how did you get started into, like, when you started joining bands? Was it just guys that you knew from high school, or like did you meet some guy? Like, because I don't remember if you ever told me, was Stars like the first band that you really got into that was bigger, or did you start in a couple projects before then, or how did that whole process go?
Yeah, so I had some friends later on in high school that had a band, and I ended up kind of like meeting some of them, went to school with the drummer. And then later on, they parted ways with him and asked me to join. So I was like, all right, first band, here we go. Got to open up some cool shows, some super local band stuff. We didn't really travel at all. I think we played like a couple hours away one time when I was with them. But through that, met a ton of people in the music scene here. Ended up, so the bass player of the first band that I joined another band from Boise playing drums. And they're like, we need a bass player. And I was like, screw it. I don't care.
Why not, right?
Yeah, it's fun trying something new. Played like 2 shows. I was like, I don't want to ever do this again. Like, yeah, it was bad. It's one thing sitting down playing guitar or bass and then standing up and having to move. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, not for me. It's fun to do at my house.
It's fun to play around with, but yeah, it's performing between sitting, drums and guitar, bass. It's 2 different worlds for sure.
Yeah. I'm in one spot. I can move my arms around and do all that.
Right.
But yeah. So he actually ended up moving to Florida. So I just played drums for that band. And then a couple of the guys that were in the first band I was in started a new band. And that kind of became a bigger sort of thing that like had potential. Like we could actually do this and maybe start touring and, do everything that everybody in a band wants to do.
Right. What was the name of that project?
So it was called, or still called, We Were Giants.
Okay. I do remember you telling me about that before.
Yeah. We did an EP, released that, and by the time that was out, we had met a guy, Nick Scott. Actually, he works with Stars, we became friends through that band. And then I got a random message one night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, "Hey, dude, got an opportunity for you." And I kind of just like not blew it off. I don't want to sound like a dick, but I was like, all right, I'll just message him back in the morning.
Yeah, you get those late night DMs though, and you're like,
yeah, because I was like, oh, he probably like, wants to work with Giants or something, like record, do whatever. So I hit him back the next day, and he's like, this touring band or this band needs a touring drummer, and I mentioned you. I was like, oh, cool. What band? He's like, Icy Stars. And I was like, what?
Because this was when they were already, like established, right?
Yeah. This is right before Treehouse came out.
Gotcha.
So I was just like floored. Like I didn't know how to react to that because my dream was I want to tour. I want to do this for a living forever.
All of a sudden you're like it's a realistic possibility kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's like the NFL draft. At least that's what it felt like at that time. But yeah, so I started talking with them, made some videos. I got off work, then that night I'm sure went straight to my spot, started making videos, sent them over. They liked it. And yeah, I flew out for my first tour the end of January in 2016.
That's awesome.
From there, networking, met a ton of cool people. Yeah, and that's how I got to where I'm at now. Our guitar tech for Warped Tour that year is the tour manager, front of house for Dance Gavin. And me and him became really great friends. I got to work with CKY with him. I got to drum tech. I did a couple tours with them.
Are they still a thing? I haven't heard of CKY in a long time.
Yeah. They did a little EP last year or the year before. But yeah, we actually just went to the castle a couple weeks ago on a day off and hung out with Jess and got to skate the park, which was super cool. And yeah,
that's awesome.
Hung out, had a nice relaxing day off. But yeah, they're actually got a ton of new music in the works. So
yeah, because they've been around for a while too, right? Like I remember. Am I thinking of the right? CKY is the like Bam Margera was a big. He was friends with them, or I'm thinking of the right one, right?
Yes. So his brother plays drums.
Got it. That's what it is.
Yep.
Going back to the We Were Giants stuff, when you said that like that started to get a little bit more serious, or like there was more opportunity there, what was like the major factor? Were you guys just taking it more seriously and just writing better music, and like you're kind of all on the same page? Or like what was what separated that from the projects you were doing prior?
Yeah, both of those. Definitely the music was a lot more mature. We have just had more experience under our belt. We were talking with a label, so that was kind of like a deciding factor for me to actually join the band. Was like, I don't want to just keep bouncing around to bands right now, or back then. I want to do this like seriously. Like I want to get a van, get a trailer, start hitting the road, like Weekend Warrior, whatever we have to do to get out there and play in front of people. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that there was talks of a label being involved definitely got me more excited, and I wanted to really push this and see what could happen with the group, because the potential was there. And I know potential only gets you so far.
Well, sure, but you got to start there, right? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
and talks with the label and everything, especially, you know, during that time when you're younger. I mean, that definitely adds like a level of legitimacy that, especially when you're looking for something serious, you know, that just adds that next level to it. So I can understand why that would like attract you more.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like anybody at that level would be more willing to put in more work, you know, and really grind, because you got to show that you're worth it.
Yeah,
That
and
you're
that this is
gonna,
like you're serious about it.
yeah, that you're gonna be an asset for that label.
Absolutely.
So
Did you continue to do like make music and play with them when you started touring with Stars?
no, I actually quit the band. Um, I was gonna quit regardless. At the end of 2015, I found myself in a spot where I just didn't have that like fire anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There was just some like internal stuff with the band, and I think we were all kind of in a weird spot, like coming into adulthood, like actual adulthood, like living on our own and like having to work jobs and try to do this, and just
Mm-hmm.
like mental health was a big factor that none of us realized, because
Absolutely.
it wasn't talked about like it is now. And yeah, I just I didn't have the passion, and I felt like I needed to take a break. Um, so when the Stars thing came up, it was like, oh, maybe I do still have the passion. I just found it somewhere else.
Right. Well, it sounds like it was
Um,
almost perfect timing too.
yeah.
Because I mean, you get
Uh,
burnt out, man. I mean, when you know
yes.
doing it for so long. I mean, because I was in the same boat too when I was younger. We multiple different bands and trying to work the full time and put all your extra money into the band and trying to link up for practices and who's serious, who's not serious. You know, it's mentally draining.
Yeah. And like it's anything with being in a group, there's like give and take. And when there's too much of one or the other, you know, there's too much friction. So yeah, I was like, if I don't get this Stars gig, me and my best friend here, I was like, let's just work and travel. I want to go see places.
Right.
I think taking a year off completely from music, like absolutely nothing, was gonna be my reset, because I needed to find a new sense of drive somewhere else. But the Stars stuff ended up working out, and super thankful for that, because it's literally like a dream.
Right.
Everything that I've got to do, like all the places I've been, like I never would have imagined that without.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, without them. So
I'm stoked for you, dude. That's so cool. Yeah, and I mean, it's those things too that, like, you know, those opportunities that pop up, and then, you know, now thanks to that, you've been able to network, and that's how you got the dance gig, right? Is
yeah,
you just explain to me, like, did you just met some of the guys, or you said that the guitar tech for someone was their manager, or
yeah. So we had a guitar tech for Stars on Warp Tour, and he is the TM front of house. Yeah, became really great friends with him on that tour, kept in touch. Stars actually ended up doing a tour with Dance in 2018. We did direct support for one of their headliners, and I like half teched for Matt on that tour. So I wouldn't have to do anything before the show. He would set up, sound check, you know, all that. Come showtime, we would play. I would rip all of our stuff off the stage, throw my drums somewhere, wherever my boat was. And then I would go back in, line check, you know, set up their show, start the show, because they run their show still off an iPad. It's crazy.
wow.
Yeah, it works. So
And I'm assuming the drummer has control of that.
Yeah, which I mean, during the show, he really doesn't have to worry about it. I click that first song and it runs.
Yeah, it's just all the tracks are just back to, you know, the show is kind of planned out already.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I would start the show, make sure he's all good, go outside, tear my drums down, and then go back in and then tear his kit down. So yeah, it was like a cool way to like get to know him and kind of not realizing it, get my foot in the door for actually full-time teching for him. And then yeah, I was supposed to do, they had the original Afterburner tour was supposed to happen 2020.
Right.
And they literally, I ended up not being able to do the tour because Stars had some like overseas shows planned. And they pulled up to the first date and they like cracked the trailers. And that was as far as they got. They were like, no show. Pandemic.
Damn.
So they're like, sweet.
What do we do now?
Literally.
It's so
everything
funny.
fell apart.
Dude, it's so crazy because some of my other buddies are in a band called Avoid, and they were same situation.
Yes,
and just in the middle of about to play a show, and then they're hearing, wait, like the country is shutting down. We're halfway across the country from where they had to pack everything up and drive all the way to Seattle from. They were in like Illinois or something like that.
So rough.
It was, dude. That's one of those days I'll never forget. Is the day that like, everything was like, wait, this is really happening.
Yep. We're stuck. We don't get to do shit now.
Well, and musicians got hit the hardest too, especially if you're touring, gigging, playing live. I mean,
yeah.
These tours that I saw that you just, because you did a lot of touring at the end of last year too, right?
Yeah. So I ended up getting back to drum teching for the Afterburner tour that actually happened, which was so crazy. Craziest tour I've ever done.
Yeah. What set it apart? Was it just like we're finally back, able to be back on the road again, we're playing live again?
Yeah. And it was still like in a time where like COVID's still like, it's still very there. So like, we took precautions, masks every day. Didn't really like, I mean, there was interaction with the other bands because like Tim played in the opening band from DGD, who just passed away. He played in the opening band. Andrew Wells sang in one of the other bands. So like, there were like members in like throughout the whole night,
right?
And then back in DGD at the end of the night.
And it's kind of hard not to interact when there's somebody in two bands and this person, everyone's just kind of connected already.
Everyone's friends, So, yeah. So it was super fun, but again, super weird because we never toured like that. We, with the mask and the mask, whatever, didn't bother me.
I can imagine you had this feeling of kind of like, is this okay? Should we be doing this?
A lot of that, like, can I be here? Can I be around people? Like,
right? Am I safe? Am I making things unsafe for other people?
Yeah,
that sucks, man. It's because it's like you go so long without being able to do what you love, and then it's a weird balance of like, I need to get back for myself. I need to do what makes me passionate, but also got to think about being safe and making sure that we're protecting each other and other people.
Yeah. And like, it really wasn't hard. There were no guests allowed backstage, which was weird, but kind of nice. Then you don't have to babysit.
Right. I can imagine.
Yeah. But, yeah, and then about halfway through the tour, I ended up having to fill in for dance. So I had to play for like 20 shows.
On this most recent one, or this is the one, the first one back?
Yeah, last year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was also just like a crazy turn of events.
Did you already know their set just from being so familiar with it and teching for so long for them? You kind of just knew the parts, or did you have to practice? Or
kind of. I had to learn them super quick. And I knew like some of the songs just because of me listening to the album they came from and like them playing them often.
right.
But yeah, I had very, very little time to learn a whole set and play.
That's always fun.
Yeah, totally. No. It reminded me that I can still do it. That I can like the covering, my immediate thought was I'm really glad that I learned how to learn songs.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Like the
playing
covers
and everything.
It helped for this moment right here. Yeah. So, but everything's good. Like with the band, it was just kind of something that popped up. And Matt is back doing wonderful. Killed it on this last tour.
Yeah.
It was so great seeing him back behind the kit and just like loving it. You could tell he was very excited and just back where he belongs. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Are you guys what do you got coming up? Any I know you said you're off for a little while. You're going back on the road towards the end of the year, or what's coming up for you guys?
So actually this year's very busy with the DGD crew. So next week I'm actually filling in for a buddy's band here. We're doing just like four shows in PNW area. So yeah, doing that real quick next week, and then rest of the month off, and then I fly out beginning of July. Dance is going to be supporting Coheed.
Oh wow!
This summer, so we've got a big tour coming up real quick.
That's going to be massive,
dude. It's going to be insane.
Yeah,
super excited for that one. Yeah, so we do that for 5 weeks, have a few weeks off. Then we fly to Europe, do like a couple weeks of shows, and then fly straight back into Louder Than Life, do that, then go home, have a few weeks off, and then we're doing When We Were Young Fest.
When is that again? That's in October?
Yeah. Last couple weekends of October.
And that's the one that they keep adding days for, right? Is that the one that I'm thinking of?
They had one which was like insane. I don't know how you're gonna pull that off in one day.
Right. It was just like a crazy number of bands or something like that.
There's
right.
So many bands and huge bands. I mean, My Chem is headlining.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So then they added another day. So it's Saturday, Sunday. And then those sold out, I believe. Sure. And then they added a third day the next weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, next Saturday.
And I might still be confused, but wasn't it like they added the day, but they weren't splitting the shows up. It was just the same lineup playing again.
Every band plays all 3 days.
Wow. And how many bands total is it?
A lot. I don't even know.
Way
like,
too many.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's got to be upwards of like 50.
That's wild. I mean, how many stages? Like
there's gonna be plenty of stages for everything. So
I would think so, but that's what was one of the biggest gripes I heard too. Is like if I'm paying to go and then I got 3 of my favorite bands all playing kind of at the same time, it's like, but it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be an awesome experience. And I mean, having that level of talent just all in one show is, people are ready. They're just ready to get back and start jamming.
It's the good old emo years, man.
I know they're coming back, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I love it.
I'm gonna start writing metalcore again.
Yeah. And speaking of metalcore, the first band I joined, a few of us got back together and we're writing some metalcore.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's
sweet.
awesome,
I
dude.
love it.
You guys are gonna actually release stuff?
Yeah, we're just taking our time with my busy schedule and like, other guys' personal lives. We're just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And when we have music, we'll put it out and that'll be that.
Yeah, dude, let me know because I'm trying to hear some metalcore.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's fun.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm gonna wrap it up, but shout out. I know you just kind of went over the tour schedule, but shout out your socials. I know. Are you still doing the drum lessons? If you want to shout that out too, like whatever you want to promote.
Yeah. Kooterdrums everywhere. With a K. Yeah. Instagram, Twitter, those are like my main ones. I do, doing drum lessons when I'm home via Zoom, Skype, whatever the means.
You're doing Twitch stuff too, right? Is that just like streaming? Like,
yeah. I started doing Twitch later in 2020 because I was like, bought a PC. I was like, yep, I want to do this. So hope to get the drum streams back soon. But yeah, I'll be streaming pretty much all month this month. Cooter Drums on Twitch as well. And yeah, basically anytime I'm home, I'll be streaming. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, brother, I appreciate you.
Dude.
And good luck with everything. I'm gonna be keeping up with you. I'm looking forward to hearing some metalcore and seeing some wild tour pictures.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for having me, man.
Absolutely, my man.
It's a blast.
Always a pleasure.
Heck yeah. Likewise.
All right, brother. I'll catch you next time.
All right.